This your tires ain't pretty, man. You know tires are tough to advertise. It's easy to advertise something good to eat, something that smells good, something that makes you look good. Like I say, tires ain't pretty.
Welcome back to this shop and this Thanksgiving special. It's Thanksgiving 2025. In this video we're going to talk about tires a little bit. Just spend some shop time talking about that. If you bought some tires recently, you probably have noticed the prices have gone up. Look at that, $135 for 120/80 19 Geo Max. I think it was just maybe 5 years ago you could pick them up for about $100. And even just a half a year ago, it was like $109 or $114. They just jumped up another $20, $25 almost overnight. At the current price, if you consider buying a front and a rear tire, name brand tire like a Dunlop or a Pirelli or whatever, you're probably looking at $250 total with tax, shipping, and everything. It's gotten crazy. Tires are getting a little bit expensive. No, I will say my YZ250 here, the rear tire is just kind of starting to get towards the end of its life a little bit. I mean, I understand it looks good, but right now, you know, when they get to this level, you can kind of see the writing on the wall. And when I say that, I mean, I'm mainly speaking about track bikes here. If you're just play riding in the trails or in a field or whatever, having a tire that has some wear on it, it's going to be okay as long as you feel comfortable with the tire, you feel like you have good control of the bike. It's more of us track guys that we always like to have fresh rubber, pretty close to fresh. I mean, I've seen people swap out tires with only this much wear on it, and just because they want a good freshie. And I get it. When you look at the pros, when they race, they never show up to the line with an old tire. They always have a nice new tire on it. So this tire, you can see the tops of them are starting to get rounded off right here. And makes you wonder, can't you just turn the tire around, take it off the rim, flip it around? That'll give you a nice sharp edge here to bite, because the sharp edge is what you want, right? You don't want a ramp on the knobbies, and we'll talk about that a little bit in a couple minutes here. But the issue with turning the tire around for me, I have found, is that as the tire ages, the carcass of the tire becomes weaker. The carcass is the body of the tire. So these knobs are coming straight up, but when they're grabbing stuff, when you're peeling out and they're grabbing the ground, you don't want them flexing or folding over. You know, you don't want them bending back. What happens is after a while they fight that force for so long that the carcass itself becomes tired, and it allows the knobbies to start folding back easier and easier. And so when a tire's first wearing, it'll first start wearing just the top edge right here. Let me show you on the Weiss bike here. You'll notice you'll see some top wear right here. You can see the scrape marks. It'll mainly just wear that area right there, and maybe just the very tip corner of the top, but it won't go down very far. In a healthy tire, that's how they wear. As the tire becomes older and the carcass becomes more tired, the knobbies are able to fold back more, and the more they fold back, the more it's going to round off this bite edge deeper and deeper, because now the tire is rolling back and exposing more of the bottom side of that edge. So you can see this tire right here, and there's worse than this out in the world, I promise you. This one's, it's bad, but I've seen a lot worse. But you can see that this one has been wearing down pretty good. Let me see if I get the light on it better here. You can see it's been wearing down. I'm gonna say about halfway down, if not more. Yeah, if not more. If you look at it on the side here, yeah, more than halfway down, it's been wearing down that front edge. So why not just turn this tire around and give yourself a nice fresh biting edge, because it's not going to last long. The carcass is tired. The carcass of the tire is worn out, and when it wears out, the knobbies fold over a lot easier. So you turn the tire around. I've done it myself. I did it for years. I used to turn tires around, but then I would wonder why I would only get 3 weeks out of the tire, 3 weekends of riding, and now the other side was worn out just as bad as the first side. Equally as worn out within like 3 weeks. And after learning a little more about tires, I realized because the carcass was tired, so when you turn the tire around, these knobs are just going to bend the other way right away, and it's going to eat that sharp edge up really quickly instead of wearing out more of the top. So my advice, if you're going to turn the tire around, you're going to want to do it pretty early in the life. You don't want to wait until the carcass is done. This one right here, I'm going to say it's pretty much about at that point where you might not want to turn it around. You want to catch it a little bit earlier than this if you want to keep that sharp edge. I would say, yeah, somewhere between this amount of wear right here on my wife's bike, and that amount of wear. You're going to want to turn it around then, if you're going to turn it around. While the carcass is still heavy, I mean, it's still healthy, and it can handle being turned around. And another reason why I'm not a big fan of turning tires around anymore is because of braking traction. When you're on the brakes, you want good traction. And if you wear this side of the tire down, the acceleration side, and then decide to turn it around, well, now the worn out side is going to be your braking edge. Brakes are important. They're real important, for me at least. So I don't like to compromise my brakes. I believe that that's more important than accelerating for me. I have to be able to stop quick to avoid a crash. Of course, scoop tires become the new thing. A lot of people running these scoop tires, and they definitely bite good going forward on the throttle. But as you can see, the backside, the braking edge is, well, it's not much in one. They're not the best on the brakes. You're going to feel your back end kind of squirm around a little bit. If you're hard on the brakes, you're going to feel it drifting around on the back end. It'll be a little bit tougher to point it right into the line that you're looking to point it into while you're on the brakes. But, you know, the bite, the traction going straight forward is so good, it will help you get the whole shot, and that's why a lot of people use these tires. And these tires, instead of just a straight edge like a brand new MX-34 would have, they actually give it, like the name, scoop. It has a scoop built into the knob, the drive knob right here, to literally just like scoop in at the ground. Now, of course, as they get worn out, well, that kind of happens to them, but, you know, every tire wears out at some point. All right, here's two tires that I pulled off my own bikes. You can see at what level that I yanked these off at. And again, this is for track use. So you can see the main thing is these side knobs right here, the side knobs that are more towards the center, you'll start to see them wear. When I start to see them wear, I kind of know that the tire is getting pretty due. There's nothing like a brand new tire. I will say though, I actually like the tire after about 1 to 2 days of riding. When it's brand new, the carcass is very stiff, and the bike, you're going to feel more deflection, and you're going to feel more of the ground. But after a day or two of riding, they break in. You still have all the knobs are still brand new, but the carcass is broken in. That's when tires do the best, in my opinion. And most of you guys that ride the track know all this stuff, but for a lot of the guys that are just getting into the sport, well, I have people come up to me all the time. They bring me their bike to do some work on or whatever, and they'll have tires about in this condition. They're just getting into the sport. They don't know much about it. And they're like, hey, these tires look pretty good, right? These are okay. And I'm like, not really. No, they're not. I understand they have knobbies, and that's what they're seeing. They see the knobbies. But it's not only about the knobbies. It's the shape of the knobby, and it's the carcass of the tire, and the overall age of the tire. Every tire will have the date stamped on it when it was made. Like this one's the 1924. So it was made in the 19th week of the year 2024. So this tire is what, about a year and a half old, I guess you can say, as far as when it was manufactured. But there's two ages to worry about. When it was made, and also just how much use it's had, how much it's been sitting around in the elements. It has been sitting in the sunlight or in a hot shed somewhere. All these things can age the tires, just like on your cars. The rubber becomes more dry, less pliable. It's just, the rubber ages after a while. And so that'll bring us to the front tires. Well, front tires, we don't wear front tires out nearly as quickly as rear tires. So we have a tendency to think that they're still good, even though they're old, right? Like this tire right here, it looks great. A lot of people, just by looking at it, like, that tire is good to send it. But in reality, this tire is getting close to the end of its life. It now has about 55 hours of use on it. Even though the knobs are still pretty sharp, I don't see any of the spots where the nipples used to be. There's a little bit of rounding on the knobs. Again, not bad at all. But I can tell by looking at this tire that it's just getting a little aged. The rubber's getting a little bit harder. And by putting a new tire on it, I'm going to feel a difference. Now, this tire looks great, but let's put it beside a brand new tire and see. Okay, right here I have a brand spanking new tire against this older, worn out tire. Now that you get the brand new tire beside it, you can actually start to see the wear in the tire more. You can see the knobs aren't quite as squared off, and you can even slide your hand like across this one and slide it across this one. You'll feel this one really bites your hand. This one, your hand can slide on the knobs a lot easier. Again, it's the carcass and the knobbies. It's a combination of the two That tire is getting older. I can tell just by looking at it, the way the rubber looks, and I can feel it. It's just getting older. Again, it's got 55 hours on it. It was probably made at the same time. And this one was made on the 6th week of the year 2024. So it's definitely it's getting there. So in about a week, I'll be pulling this front tire off and putting it on a spare rim that I have that I use when I go to hard pack tracks. I'll kill the last bit of life on this tire on hard pack tracks. Speaking of hard pack, keep your tires off the road. This was a brand new tire, and the owner put it on the road. Look at that, brand new. It never seen the dirt 91 time. I mounted this tire on for the customer, and he put it on the road right away. You can see just a short run up and down the road, and look at the wear it's already done. That's a $134 tire. That's the quickest way to kill your tires, by putting them on the road. Because again, the whole idea is we're trying to get the most of our money here. These tires are not cheap, especially if you like compare them to the automobile world. I mean, $600 for a set of tires for automobile, a cheaper set, $1,200 maybe for a more expensive set on our car, and we can get what, 40, 50, 60,000 miles out of them. Well, look at this. If that's a $119 tire, let's just say it's a $120 front tire, it's got 55 hours on it so far, and I'm already considering getting rid of it. This tire right back here probably has about 25 to 30 hours on it, and it's getting close as well. You can see we don't get a lot of time for our money on these tires. This MX-34 here, this is considered a soft terrain. You see it says soft right there. It's considered a soft terrain tire. It kind of ranges anywhere from intermediate to soft terrain. But you'll notice most of your pros, at least here in America, will use a soft terrain tire no matter if the track is harder packed or soft terrain. Because in general, your best performance on a tire is going to come on your soft terrain tires and not so much your intermediate to hard pack tires. The MX-53, that's Dunlop's hard pack tire, I guess you can say. It's their intermediate to hard pack tire. And these are more about lasting long. They're not really about getting the best traction on a hard pack. It's about surviving for a while. So they have a firmer carcass that's less likely to let the knobs fold over, so that you wear the top edges down when you peel out, instead of folding them over so much and wearing out the biting edge. On these, the performance is not the top priority. The lifespan is, there's a balance between lifespan and performance on these. Where with the MX-34s or your soft terrain tires, they're gonna sacrifice some of that longevity for performance. That being said, if you're riding hard pack stuff primarily, you'll eat through an MX-34 or a soft terrain tire quickly. Where these, you will get some life out of them, and so that's the advantage to that. But if you're racing and you got have the money like the pro racers, well, you're probably going to want to use this even if it's a hard pack track. You're probably going to end up using the soft terrain tire because you're going to get better deflection, better bite, and just a better feel. So $136 actually for the MX-34, but you know that we do have some cheaper alternatives. Tusk now makes a tire, the same size tire right here for soft terrain. They're asking half the price at $70. And I actually have one here. I have one of the front tires here. Let's compare it to the Geo Max tire. Alright, the Geo Max is on your right, the Tusk is on your left. I mean, knob profile wise, they look very, very similar. The rubber is a little bit shinier in this one. I'm trying to get a general idea of the feel. You know, I would like to test these out and see. You know, first off, the lifespan. Do they last quite as long as the Geo Max? But second off, do they performance? Because I don't know, but the price seems really good. Let me know what you guys think. If any of you guys have tried these tires out, how they worked out for you, front and rear. You know, again, with the prices of stuff going up, look at this. They even put the little Tusk logo right there, just like Dunlop does. So they're definitely shooting after the Dunlop tires. One thing I do find strange on the Tusk is that nowhere on the tire does it tell me where the tire is made at, the country of origin. It does have the year that it was made, the week and year, so it's 36th week of year 2025, where the Geo Max says made in Indonesia, so at least I know where that tire was made at. I have no clue where this was made at, probably in China. But again, I am curious to how these actually bite. Maybe one day I might do a video review on them. I don't know, but you know, surely it's 50% cheaper. It could save us a lot of money. All right, inner tubes. I replace, for customers of mine, more heavy duty inner tubes than standard. It's just how it goes. And I find oftentimes the heavy duty, what happens is it gets a split in the inner tube. I guess from flexing, it can't handle it cannot handle bending 180 degrees for very long. They will actually split. Now I'm here in Florida. We ride soft terrain stuff. If we ride off road, we might have some roots and stuff, but we don't have much hard packed or rocky type ground. So I can't really, for you guys that live in other parts of the world, I can't really speak on that where it might be completely necessary to have a heavy duty inner tube. But I can tell you for most of the motocross tracks and most of us motocross guys, I think you're going to get better performance out of the standard inner tube. Not only are they a lot lighter, and weight is huge when it comes to your wheels, because we have gyro effects. When the wheels are spinning, it creates a up and down force, a gyro effect. That's what allows you to balance on the bike when you're riding it. You notice you can't balance on it when you're sitting still, not very easily, but the minute the wheels start spinning, you can hold your balance. That's because of the wheels spinning. And the more weight you put on your wheels, the more of that effect you get, and the less weight you have in your wheels, the less of that effect you'll get. So having less can be a good thing for entering corners, dropping the bike down quicker, or whipping it in the air. As you start adding weight to your wheels with steel sprockets, heavy duty inner tubes, heavy tires, heavy aftermarket wheels, the bike's going to feel more stubborn. It's not going to want to drop into the corner as quickly, and it's not going to feel as light and flickable in the air. So because of that, I like to stick with your more OEM type inner tubes. You'll notice your OEM tubes when you buy a brand new bike will either be a Bridgestone or a Dunlop, and they're about 1.2 to 1.3 millimeters thick. They're nice pliable rubber, they're lightweight, and they last. They last for the life of the tire. So when I have to replace the OEM inner tubes, I typically just go for these Kenda brand tubes because they're the most similar that I've found to the OEM tubes at a reasonable price. These right here claim to be 1.2 to 1.3 millimeters thick. They're about the same weight as the OEM inner tube, and I get pretty much the same life out of them. For us motocrossers, usually what causes flats is abrasion. So the inner tube's just getting worn away from the inside of the tire, especially because we run pretty low pressure. So there's going to be a lot of flex in the tire, and it can pinch the inner tube from time to time between the tire and the rim. And that's normal. It happens when we hit sharp edge bumps. It happens. But after a while, it can eat away at the inner tube and cause abrasion and eventually make a hole. So anytime you do get a flat, it's nice to put air in the inner tube that you pulled out and see where the hole is at, so you know what's causing your flat. But that's where heavy duty inner tubes do come in, is they can handle abrasion for longer, I guess. But as long as you change your inner tube every time you put a new tire on, you probably won't get a flat. That inner tube will last the life of the tire. It does for me at least, unless you catch like a nail or something crazy. A brand new inner tube will typically last the life of the tire. It's when we reuse inner tubes, we buy a brand new tire and we just reuse the old inner tube, that's when we end up with a flat somewhere midlife on the tire at the track, and it sucks. A lot of tires these days will come with this little painted dot on it. And if you read the instructions, it might come with the tire. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But they tell you that this is the lightest spot on the tire. Basically, they checked the balance of the tire after the tire was made, and they found that that was the lightest location on the tire. So they put a dot there, and they tell you to mount it on the rim with that dot at the valve stem, because that's supposed to be the heaviest part of the wheel. But I got news for them. That's not the heaviest part of the wheel on these motocross bikes. The heaviest part is actually at the rim lock. I know from truing wheels on truing stands and even balancing wheels, the heavy spot is pretty much going to always be at the valve stem. So I think when they made them instructions, they weren't considering dirt bikes with rim locks. They were probably considering street bikes and maybe dual sports that might not have rim locks. And at that point, the valve stem would be the heaviest part. But when you have a rim lock, that's the heaviest part. So I personally put that dot at the rim lock when I mount tires. Let's see if you can see the dot. They wear away through time. Yeah, this one's worn away. Let's see if we can see it on my my wife's bike here. Yeah, there it is. See the dot right there? And I got it at the rim lock because that is the heaviest spot of the rim. And this is the lightest spot of the tire to kind of give it a fighting chance of being somewhat in balance. Tire PSI. Well, I know for years Yamaha used to have a sticker on the rear fender that said run 15 PSI front and rear. Most people generally just run 12 PSI front and rear. That's kind of a generic number that most people just kind of fall on. Some people run 13. I remember years ago they asked Bubba Stewart what he runs on his race bike, and he said 9 PSI. They asked him why. He says, I don't know why. It's just what Dunlop tells me to use. 9 PSI is pretty low. At 9 PSI, I've tried it. I ran it for a while. You got to remember, too, he probably had a different type of tire that we have. They have race spec tires. But I did run 9 for a little while, and it did feel good. I enjoyed it, but I ended up denting the front rim. Running 9 just wasn't enough pressure. The tire was able to pinch in on the rim and just dent the rim lip a little bit. I also was getting flats a little bit more than usual because of pinching the inner tubes. But there is a range and there is a sweet spot, and you know, it's nice to find that sweet spot. Currently, I'm running 10 PSI on a 250 two-stroke or 250F or smaller, like a 125, whatever. I'm running 10 PSI front and rear. Back when I had a 450, I don't have a 450 right now, but back when I had one, I was running 11 on them, a little more because the bike's a little heavier. Now, that's over here in Florida. We don't have like a lot of real sharp edges on the track or anything, so I can get away with a little bit softer, a little bit of a lower PSI. And what that's going to do is it's going to smoothen out the ride a little bit. Your tire is part of your suspension, so when you hit a bump, the very first thing that it hits on your bike is the tire. And if the tire can absorb a little bit of that, well, that's going to take a load off the rest of your suspension. So when you run a lower PSI where the tire can flex more, you're going to get more bite in the ground from the rubber, but you're also going to get less deflection, and it's going to kind of soften up little ripples and stuff on the track. And that can be pretty good to have, especially like when you have a face of a jump that has ripples going up or a kicker on the top or something like that. It will help absorb that kind of stuff. Obviously, if you go too low, then you risk denting rims, pinching inner tubes, and reducing the life of your tire because the additional flex can even cause cracks after a while in your tire. But running too much air pressure in your tire can make the wheels feel like they're basketballs. They're going to skip around. When you hit them little shutter bumps on the track and stuff, you're going to feel your wheels skipping around and just not staying on the ground good enough. So you do want to find the sweet spot. What I suggest to do is start, maybe like 14 or 15 PSI, both front and rear. Do a few laps, come back in, drop it at PSI. Do a few laps, come back in, drop it at PSI. And keep dropping it until you find where you don't get an improvement anymore every time you drop PSI. So let's say 11 PSI felt great. You went to 10. You didn't really notice any improvement at 10. It just felt like 11 kind of. Maybe a little softer, but overall it just felt like 11. So you might as well stay at 11 then. And then you can go as far as go down the rabbit hole of figuring out front versus rear. Once you figure out both at 11 is kind of your sweet spot, then you can start over again, but only on the front. Start at 14 and try 13, 12, 11, 10. And once you find a sweet spot there, then do the same thing to the rear. So then you can separate them and see. Maybe you like 11 out front, but a 13 in the back. Who knows? You won't know until you try. And also one thing to note is different model tires, different size tires, that kind of thing, might like a different PSI. So just because you think you found the perfect PSI for, let's say, MX-34s, and all of a sudden you switch to MX-30 or 53s, you might have to search for that perfect PSI for them tires again. Different tires can prefer different PSI, depending on the carcass, if they're a softer carcass or a firmer carcass and that kind of stuff. Also, age of a tire. Typically a new tire is going to be a little bit stiffer on the first day, so maybe running a little bit less pressure could be a good thing. But as the tire ages, the carcass gets worn in, broken in, more flexible, more pliable, then maybe having a little more PSI might be a good thing. And I always check my tire pressure at the beginning of the day before I ride the bike. Tires on these motocross bikes have a tendency to lose about a pound a week. 1 PSI a week. It's just how it is. The rubber is very thin for the inner tube, and it's very porous, So they kind of bleed off some pressure throughout the week. So check your tires before you go out and ride. That's my suggestion. But anyway, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. This weekend I'm going out to Bone Valley on Saturday. They have a track, and they just built this. Check out that stand. That's an old DG stand. Probably from the, if any guys know what year this stand is from, let me know in the comments. My brother gave it to me. It's old. But anyway, yeah, we're going to go to Bone Valley. I'm going to be doing a video review of that track on Saturday. And see how that is. It's supposed to be like, you know, government ran track or whatever, Polk County. But stay tuned for that. I'll have that up Saturday night. And now I need to get ready to get in the car and go over to Tampa to visit my brother. It's a nice little, about an hour drive. I'm going to be taking this 2013 Mustang GT. This is my toy, I guess you could say, daily driver. Nothing crazy, no supercharger or anything, all naturally inspired. I mean, I did put a JLT intake on it. It has a 2018 intake manifold, some long tube headers down there, full exhaust, you know, off-road stuff, you know, 3-inch exhaust, that kind of stuff. Has a, what do you call it, a dual clutch, or whatever you call it, and 355 rear end with some type of differential. I don't know, but it's a fun car to drive. It is a 6-speed manual. That's pretty cool. Of course, we got all the chickens over here. We have Millie and Vanilli. These two are roosters, and we have to keep them two away from from Beavis because they're young and they want to gang up on Beavis because Beavis has all the chicks. At least right now he does. So we got to get these guys some chicks. But there's Beavis. He's in there kicking. I'm going to lock these two up in a couple minutes and let Beavis and the family out in the yard to play around. And that's the guy that you hear in the background in all my videos. He's getting old now. Look at his head. It's all funky looking and stuff, but he's still kicking. He's a strong, tough chicken. Oh, and there's Butthead, by the way. She's getting old too. Look at her. She can hardly get up. And there goes Millie. Of course, we got Stella over here. She's old too, because she's a happy dog. And her son Leroy, as my wife calls him, I call him Little Shit. He is a good dog. He's a really good shop dog. All right, that's it, guys. Just wanted to put together a little bit of something for Thanksgiving and talk about tires a little bit. Make sure you get out there, get a good weekend of riding in wherever you're at. I hope all you guys have a good Thanksgiving. And stay tuned for the video on Saturday of the Bone Valley review. Catch you then.
This your tires ain't pretty, man. You know, tires are tough to advertise. It's easy to advertise something good to eat, something that smells good, something that makes you look good. Like I say, tires ain't pretty. But you know, it's very hard to advertise. You can't go up and have a taste test with tires like you do with Pepsi and Coca-Cola. And you know, when a guy sells a guy a tire and he puts it on, he ain't gonna say, thanks, I needed that. You know, tires are tough. But we'll save you money anyhow. You gotta buy them. You come to Allied Discount Tires.